Hi, so you are a GRE aspirant who is very worried about how to save time in passages. Not new, not at all surprising. So many people out there who think about the GRE or want to take the GRE have been spooked by news that there are 3 to 7 passages in a section, and as it is, not with the GRE but with rumors, the more stupid the rumor, the faster it flies. But yes, there will be quite a few passages in the verbal section on your GRE, and therefore when we talk about a speed guide, I want you to first understand two important classifications. Because when you talk about passages, don't assume that all the passages that you see will be as long as the passages, conventional passages, the passages that we see in most tests. Instead, GRE has very clearly delineated or classified the passages into two types: the short passages, the long passages. The short passages are actually so short, so many people tend to consider them equivalent to what is critical reasoning on the actual GMAT. And I won't be surprised, because the short passages also bring up questions which are commonly seen in critical reasoning on the actual GMAT. The long passages, on the other hand, are quite long. Most of them exceed 200 words, and therefore most of them are associated with 3 or 4 questions. So we expect a mix of long and short passages, and most probably you will get only one long passage per section. So that is my classification 1. Classification 2 would be the types of questions, because knowing the types of questions is also a part of my speed guide. There are generically only 2 types of questions. There are direct questions and there are indirect questions. How do I differentiate between the two? From the way I identify a question. Because when I say question, I always talk about question stems. What is a question stem? It is that statement that tells you what are you expected to do. Are you expected to weaken the author's argument? Are you expected to derive a conclusion? Are you expected to identify the author's primary purpose? Those are your question stems. And I have a direct question where in the question stem itself I have a keyword, I have a line number, I have something that I can scan the passage and find very easily. In an indirect question, none of these exists. But this is not just a classification of how question stems look. This is also about how do we approach question types. So I take it one at a time. In fact, I mix the two. And what do I come to? My speed guide says when I come across short passages, I always read the question stem first. Because if I come across a direct question, I know that my approach is different. If I come across an indirect question, I again know my approach is different. At least by knowing what am I expected to do with the passage, I can identify whether I should read the entire passage or target only a part of the passage. Because if it's a direct question, I will have to identify what a direct question wants me to do, and fortunately, direct questions are only focused on either your ability to derive a specific inference about a keyword or your ability to understand the logical purpose of a particular keyword or maybe a part of the paragraph in context to the rest of the paragraph. On the other hand, in an indirect question, the problem is the answer choices are related to what is given in the passage, but they are never directly a rephrase, which means I can relate but I cannot find the exact sentence. And therefore, most of the times in an indirect question, it is better to just have an idea about what is given in the passage and focus on what I personally call the elimination approach, then worry about cross-checking every answer choice with the passage, which is by far the most common reason for wasting time in passages. So, to summarize the discussion till now, if it's a short passage, read the question stem first. And if it's a direct question, you know that you must locate a particular keyword or only focus on a particular part of the passage. And if it's an indirect question, you know the approach to each question type. We will discuss the approaches to all of the indirect question types probably in separate videos later. You will be able to find them on YouTube, but right now I'm focused on not wasting my time. So if it's an indirect question, I know that there is a different approach to each of these question types, and therefore I have a reading approach which makes up part 2 of our speed guide. Also because when it's a long passage, I will always suggest read the passage first. So reading the passage, ensuring that we can read a long passage and finish it in 3 to 4 minutes. So how do I not waste time in reading a long passage? My answer is have a more or less objective reading approach. In other words, I would focus on 3 things when I am reading a passage. First thing, while reading the passage, I never try to memorize. Simple. The passage is always going to remain on my screen as long as I see passage-based questions. We create an unnecessary effort on our part by trying to memorize the passage. Instead, if I had to attempt a long passage, while reading, I would make notes. Notes of what? Everything that I understand, 1. What if I come across complicated, long sentences? I focus on the transition words. What if I come across a sentence that I don't understand at all? Leave it. That one sentence cannot be the gist of the entire passage. What if I come across jargon? Leave it. How do you deal with algebra? You deal with the same thing, because on the GRE, there are no questions which will ask you the meaning of the word in passages. So leave the jargon as it is. It is not so difficult as people have made it to be. While reading, take a stop every now and then, maybe stop every 50 words, stop every 30 words, stop every 3-4 lines, whatever you're comfortable with. Take a stop, make a note of whatever I understand. Keep it simple, not worry about the jargon. That is my reading tip number 1. Tip number 2, while I read and I make notes, I never try to relate the notes with each other, because my experience with GRE passages very clearly shows there are so many times when I have something mentioned in the first paragraph, the explanation comes up far away in the third paragraph. If I struggle with linking the notes before I have reached the end of the passage, it's a mess. It's an unnecessary waste of time. Third thing, when you make notes, make them for yourself. These are not college study notes which you will make today and probably revisit after a few months. Scribble, use short forms, use flowcharts, use whatever you want, as long as you don't end up with the handwriting so bad you are unable to decipher whatever you've written when you actually need it. So I combine these 3 steps. When I read a passage, I have my notes, then comes the 4th part, which is now that I have all my notes, I'm going to exploit what? My short-term memory. In what ways? I'm going to only focus on my notes and try to now link them to get an overall summary or the gist. This will definitely take a lot of time when you start practicing, but as you go ahead practicing, the amount of time will reduce. So don't give up on it just on this video because it is a too long a practice. I know it's too long a practice, but only practice will help you to reach that point where you can finish reading a long passage within 3 to 4 minutes. So I said, read the passage, make notes, do not relate the notes till you are done reading the passage, finish reading the passage, relate the notes, make a summary. Now comes the final missing piece of the jigsaw. The jigsaw of how to reduce the time spent in passages. And this final piece is all practicality. A lot of test takers fall into the lure of what I call perfection. What do you mean by the lure of perfection? You've read a passage, you've been able to answer 2 questions correctly or 3 questions correctly, and then this is last one, just one question which is like way too tricky, way too time consuming, way too irritating. If I were to take the test, I would not give so much time to it, because if I get all 4 of them correct, I do not get any bonus. But the amount of time and the energy and the effort that I put into that question is definitely going to affect something else in the same section, unless this is the last question I am attempting in my verbal section. So if you want to score high, I would rather start with the expectation of getting only around 5 to 6 questions correct out of the 8 to 9 questions that I'll see in the passages in my verbal section. Because I know that if I have a slightly lower expectation, I am more relaxed, I can allocate my time better, I can also choose those few questions, a couple of questions which are way too tricky and I do not want to waste my time on those questions because there is no negative marking on the test. And most importantly, if I perform well, if I meet my expectations of 5 to 6, there is always a chance I become so confident that with my next attempt, I can go from 5 to 6 correct to 7 to 8 correct. Talk about the reverse mentality, you have targeted all of them correct and you end up only with 5 to 6 correct, and you can see that gap of 2, and that gap of 2 continuously hurts your confidence, your motivation, your strategy towards the passages. It only creates an unnecessary burden. So that's how, if I had to handle my passages without losing too much time, I would look at the passage length, short passage, read the question first, long passage, read the passage first, either of the passage types, classify the question, remember the approach, and remember common sense. If you do get stuck, there is always a way out of it. I really hope these 4-5 points help you to cut down on both your fear about passages and the time that you'll spend on the passages. Good luck.